What's up, everyone, and welcome to Grit number 15. My name is Brandon. That guy right there is Aaron. What's up, Aaron?
Hey, man. How's it going?
Good. Good to be back home.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Good to see the family. I mean, you missed Father's Day. Did you get a belated Father's Day at least when you got?
I did.
Good.
I got a battery powered leaf blower. I'm pretty pumped on it.
I got a battery powered leaf blower too. Of course, I bought it for myself. What did you get? It's Ryobi Days at the Home Depot.
I don't know which one I got, to be honest.
Yeah. So like, I've had a Black & Decker, some like a drill and a weed eater and things like this for probably the better part of 10 or 15 years at this point. And I decided to kind of like, because batteries are way more efficient. I mean, we talked about, Pale Blue Earth, these guys right here a couple weeks ago. And just battery technology is better. The power transfer is better and all those things. So I decided to kind of make this global switch on all those things. I just have to figure out how to recycle batteries. So I'm sure I can work it out. But that's awesome.
I'm sure there's somewhere you can send them.
Probably, you would think. Maybe we should figure that out. I should figure that out. Anyway, well, so today, guys, what we're going to talk about is kind of rehashing. We're going to look at a little bit of gear. Actually, this might be kind of a shorter episode. We're going to look at a little bit of gear. Oh my gosh. And then we're also going to talk about Aaron's kind of final run here. And then what it's like when you leave kind of a big training block such as it is, especially one that's at a much different altitude than where you live, and then going back home. So I will actually be talking about that because I'm going here in a few weeks, going to Virginia and North Carolina, so the Outer Banks and some things like that over there. And what I'm curious about is I'll be there for a week, 2 weeks, something like that. And when I come back, how much will I have lost, if anything? And I don't think it'll be much because it's not the first time that I've done it. But I do want to talk about that because, when people like Aaron lives at sea level or negative sea level, and then comes out here to do a race like Leadville, like what does that transfer time look like? And so we're going to talk about that. And then some gear and how our training is going. Otherwise, all those kinds of things. Sound good?
Sounds great.
Rock and roll, man. So before we kind of talk about the training stuff, let's talk about, I've got two things that we'll talk about: the gear that I have, then we'll talk about the running, then we'll talk about the gear that you've got sitting there. So I've got two things. So right now is water bottle time. I mean, it's always water bottle time, but it seems like during the summer, especially as I'm building bigger miles, Aaron's building bigger miles, I'm busting out that hydration pack quite a bit, and I am the worst at cleaning my hydration packs because you get home, you're so tired, and you're just like, screw it, you throw it in the back of the car or whatever, and then you just leave it there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
You come back and there's like, it's like one of those tumors that has hair and teeth in it, and you're
yeah, the fuzz growing inside of your hydration pack is not appetizing.
Yeah, and in the hose, which is the hardest part to get out, and they have whole entire kits and things like that. So the thing that I got today actually more pertains, or two things that I've got. One pertains to hydration pack. One is more specific to bottles. So this right here is called Scrubberz, Scrubberz for those of you listening. I've not used it yet, but what it is there's a soft, so there are three different kind of like, if you're just listening, basically they're balls with bristles on them. The smaller of the three balls is soft, medium, and then stiff. And so what you're meant to do with these is you add 2 or 3 balls to your water bottle, right? Because these are going to kind of be more appropriate for something with a structure like that. Then you're going to put a little bit of water in there with not much water. You can see kind of this diagram on the back right here. You're only filling like the kind of bottom inch or so, and then shaking them around. Right. So I feel like you could put a little bit of soap in there. It says rinse, repeat with 1 drop of soap to remove grease and bacteria. They're eco-friendly, super efficient, and you just kind of shake them. I do that anyway. When I'm cleaning a water bottle, like I put a bunch of soap and water into a bottle, shake it quite a bit, let it soak for a little while just to get kind of the crap that gets around the top and the gaskets and all that. But something like this that's actually going to just allow you to shake it while you're scrubbing, pretty cool. I'm kind of jazzed to use that. So
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I've not used it yet. I will report back.
Pro tip: if you have kids, the kids' bottle scrub brush
Yeah.
also works really well.
So we have a bottle scrub brush generally because we go through so many water bottles. But yes, the bottle scrub brush is fantastic. Again, though, it's like the top of I don't have a water bottle sitting here, but like the spout of the water bottle is so difficult to
Oh
get
yeah.
in like the nooks and crannies of there, you know? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm
That's why
pumped on
water
that.
bottles are cheap. This thing. So this right here is it's by Fossil Outdoor, and it's called Bone Dry, BO with the long O sign over it. Bone Dry. That's what it's called. Don't air dry it. Bone dry it. So what this does, apparently, you rinse your hydration pack free of any water or non-water stuff you may want to put in there. You put this into the opening with the end hanging out. If your bladder is one of those with a brand that bisects the bladder, use scissors and cut the bone dry between the two center seams. So I've got a bunch of these, and what I think, the way that I believe that this works, and it certainly seems to be that way, is there's a little bit of capillary action. So actually, Aaron, you may know this, but we were talking about filtering water when you were out here, and you carried a filter from Katahdin, I think, when you were here. And so one of the things that you can do to filter water some of the time using capillary action is that you can put like a cloth or a paper towel into not so clean water and then the other end into a receptacle, and it'll kind of just via capillary action pull that water over there and it'll filter along the way. I believe this is using kind of evaporative capillary action. So what it really feels like is I don't even know. It kind of feels like what is this, 18 inches maybe? Like a semi-rigid little board thing that you put down in there. Number one, it's going to hold the bag open, which I always have a hard time with. So I wind up putting like a bottle lid in the top or something to keep the hydration bladder open. This keeps it open a little bit, but also allows for airflow up and down this kind of like mesh covered thing here to really allow the air to circulate. So I will report back on how this works. I'm pretty pumped because drying out those things, I mean, that's half the battle, right? With cleaning a hydration pack bladder. So
100%.
Yeah, man, excited. Anywho, well, let's talk about Hall Ranch. So when we talked last, and if you guys haven't, please like, subscribe, share, click the little notification bell, all those things. We like to hear all the comments that you guys have, and we actually did have a couple comments. So before we get into some of this stuff, let me read some comments to you guys. So this is from our episode first, Cool in Olympia says it's sure a good thing Aaron came to Colorado to get some elevation. That would be excruciating coming from sea level. Agreed. And then GDK Mouse says, what is the most fun thing you did? Obviously, this is for you, Aaron. What is the most fun thing you did when you were there? Tell me, sir.
Ooh. The hike Friday, the hike Saturday, and Hall Ranch are all fairly fun. They're all really, really fun. I mean, Saturday I was solo, which was different, but I did get almost to the boulder field at Long's Peak.
Yep.
That hike in itself is fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, it was 4.5 miles straight uphill.
Yep.
3,000 feet of gain, something like that. So that was super, super fun. Hall Ranch, though, is an amazing trail. I can't stop thinking about that trail. I know you like to go counterclockwise. Next time I'm there, I think I want to.
We went clockwise.
You went okay, yeah. So you go clockwise. I want to try it counterclockwise next time, only because I think that runnable section at the end, what we did, would be at the front. I just think it would be a different run. But the trails there, like, and I told you, I don't know how many times. It's just amazing how many options you have to run. Yeah, it was a different experience every time I left your house. It was awesome.
So did we talk? Because I think we recorded the last episode on Friday, so we didn't talk about Chasm Lake and all that stuff,
Mm-mm.
correct? Okay.
Right.
So before we talk about Hall, so when you did Chasm Lake, so correct me if I'm wrong, but so the plan was, so Chasm Lake is part of the Longs Peak trail system. So the way that you generally get it, which is, by the way, Longs Peak is the highest peak in, and I'll put a link to it so you guys can see Longs Peak and Chasm Lake. But it's the highest peak in Rocky Mountain National Park at 14,259 feet. And Arron's plan was not to do Chasm Lake because this time of year, especially with the late season snow we had, it's a little tricky because you kind of need some high alpine and winter climbing gear, not just running shoes and a hydration pack. So it wasn't your goal to do that, right?
Chasm or longs?
Longs.
Yeah. So the idea wasn't to go do longs; it was to do chasm.
Yep.
Off the bat.
Yeah.
Halfway, not I wouldn't say halfway up. When you get to the split between going left to Chasm Lake and right to Longs,
Which is about 5 miles, I think, or something like that, give or take.
yeah, something like that. I got up there and I could see weather in the distance. And from what happened to us on Friday,
Yep.
I was like, if I'm gonna have any shot of seeing what it's like over there, I got to go now.
Yeah.
And it was a good thing I did because I went. I got another almost 500 feet of elevation, another like 2 miles out, and I mean it just started coming down.
Yeah.
And being solo and not knowing the area or the weather patterns as well as you, I made the decision to turn, go back down, and then try Chasm, being on the other side of the mountain where the weather hadn't gotten to yet.
So, kind of to describe it for people, what happens is you're going up the Longs Peak Trail. You get to this. There's a privy, so a bathroom. Actually, an amazing view of a bathroom. I'll try to put that in so that people can see it. But there's a split, and it kind of splits off like a Y, and so Chasm Lake Trail goes to the left, and what Arron was talking about was going toward the keyhole route, to the keyhole at Longs Peak, which is kind of at the backside of the boulder field. All these things. Again, please check the show notes, whether you're listening on Stitcher, Spotify, whatever it is, or if you're watching on YouTube, please go down below. Same thing with Rumble, Odyssey, things like that. So, as you get to the boulder field, you kind of come up and over this ridge to the right, and it goes down into the boulder field. It's like another mile to the keyhole. And the keyhole, once you go through that, it's this kind of cool rock formation. Maybe I'll even try to put that in. Once you see that the keyhole, it begins to kind of that's where it gets tricky on the other side of the keyhole. So the other thing is that you're above 11,000 feet. So at that point, you're above tree line. And that's where you can't really mess around. Because if that weather, like Arron was saying, if that weather comes in, you are like lightning rod, right? So once you went up into the boulder field, or kind of over that ridge, which is called Granite Pass there, did you actually you kind of were at the backside of the boulder field? Could you see up toward the peak from that point?
So I'm not sure. I was right at 12,507 feet, something like that.
Yep.
And though I don't think I had made it high enough to see over and hit the peak.
Got it.
Granted, there was nobody around me.
Yeah.
And I wasn't really sure what I was looking at.
Now, how did you feel relative to altitude? Like,
fine.
Did your head get swimmy at all?
Good. Not going up.
Okay.
Trying to skitter, I guess is the best word, to go down to get back towards Chasm Lake, because there's those sections of like flat rock where you could see they kind of put a path.
Yep.
Those rocky sections, trying to go a little quicker. I felt a little lightheaded. I wouldn't say airy. Kind of whoa, okay, I'm up. But it was at no point did I feel out of sorts.
Got it. I remember the first time I did longs, this 2015, and I left the trailhead at 3 a.m. because you want to summit and try to be off the summit by 11 because that's when the weather rolls in, is in the afternoon. And it was very interesting because I pushed hard on, it was just hiking, but I pushed hard and I got to, there's another privy that's in the boulder field. So it sounds like probably a half mile or so past where you turned around. But I got there and I had pushed so hard, and it is weird. We talked about this, I think, relative to the Arapahoe Pass adventure. Um, that it's not when you're going that you feel that kind of lightheadedness, but it's when you pause and your body's like, what the hell are you doing? And I felt that a lot, like to the degree that I had to put on gloves because when I did that, it was in late August of 2015. And so it was cold. I mean, it was probably in the 20s at that point. And so I'm looking at my hand, trying to put a glove on. You have to look at your hand and like mechanically work out, okay, I'm putting a glove on. This finger goes here. So it was it's very weird. I just remember pushing to that point and being just very out of sorts, you know?
Oh, yeah, I can believe it. I mean,
Yeah.
it got cold. I mean, I got to the point where I put my jacket on at the, at the top.
Yeah. And so then you came back down that, and we're going to try to go, if you're looking at the Longs Peak Trail again, please check the notes here. The split to the left, which heads toward what's called the Diamond, which is kind of the east face of, I think the east face of Longs Peak. And that's where Chasm Lake sits, right at the base of the Diamond. Now, I think it's only a mile from that split, maybe mile from that split to Chasm Lake. But because it's kind of isolated back in some sort of a, I don't know what to call it, sort of like a bowl, it can retain a lot of snow. So what did you run into as you, yeah, exactly. So Aaron's holding up a picture to the thing here, and I'll actually put a picture in as well from Aaron. So Aaron, please send me those picture.
Yeah.
And at that point, you're on a steep angle, you know. You're on the steep angle that's kind of, if you're going toward Chasm Lake, it drops to your left, and it's not, you're not going to die, right? It's not that steep, but it's not going to be fun, and you're going to wind up 300 feet down and have to climb back up through a bunch of corny snow.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah, and so you gave me traction. I didn't bring my spikes. You gave me micro spikes. I took them in the truck. I got excited and forgot to put them in my bag. And literally as I'm approaching, I'm like, oh man, like that looks kind of sketch.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone who was going, you couldn't really see it from the picture, but there were plenty of people traversing the side of it, right? They were going across, but every one of them had stopped and put on traction, some sort of traction. One couple looked very local. I could be very wrong, but they looked very local. Kind of took off without traction, and the dude slipped like 5 feet down the hill before he caught himself. And I was like, no, we're good. Like, I need to get back to the truck. I got responsibilities. I don't think dying on the side of the mountain was an option that day. So, which was a bummer because I really wanted to get across because, I wanted to see Chasm Lake.
Yeah, and I think it's still frozen actually, because that's just kind of how seasons work here. Yeah, it's a tricky thing, and I'll say that those of the probably 4 or 5 times that I've done Chasm Lake, I don't think there's ever been a time where it's been completely void of snowfields. Like you're going to run into snowfields there. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think if it were like 50 yards, it would have been like, I would have been like, all right, I could probably get through. But it was like 2 sections of like 100+ yards of snow cover. Like, just too much.
And it takes a lot of time because you've got people going in both directions and you cannot pass each other on that. So if Aaron's going across, Bob on the other side has to wait for Aaron to finish and vice versa. So it takes a lot of time to make that happen, in my experience. But you did have poles, but like you were telling me that you stuck a pole in to see if that would work for traction and it just dropped down.
Yeah, I mean, it just kind of went in. I'm like,
yeah.
again, I'm not comfortable enough
No.
in the mountains yet to risk that.
Yeah, I mean, having the right gear with you, and especially kind of like we were still, I mean, since yesterday was the first day of summer, I think, like you're still kind of late spring, and here we got, I mean, my Sydney and I were skiing on May 18th, I think, like we were skiing at Flat Top and Rocky Mountain National Park, and so like you're going to get wonky weather and then it just doesn't go away very quickly. And so it's better safe than sorry. We actually talked about that beforehand and not getting summit fever. And for those of you who don't really live in a place like this, summit fever, I mean, it doesn't have to be the summit of a mountain. Here we call it summit fever because you go, I have to make this summit, I have to make Chasm Lake, and then you wind up making stupid decisions to hit your goal rather than doing the wise thing and stopping and living to fight another day. I mean that can happen anywhere, right? It doesn't have to be in the Rocky Mountains above 13,000 feet. So it's good. I mean that's kudos to you because a lot of people, especially people who don't live here, get stuck in really bad decision making cycles like that. So
Yeah, it's easy to do up there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's tricky. So what about being that trail being runnable?
Depending on who you are.
Yeah, it's steep. It's very steep.
Yeah, I mean, once you get in out of the tree line, like once you get above 11,000 feet or 11.5
thereabouts.
Once you get out of the trees and you're on the rocks,
yeah.
I mean, you got to be a special kind of person to really go up or down some of that. There were sections at the top going down where, again, you could skitter. I call it a skitter. I wouldn't call it a run. I wouldn't call it a jog. It's kind of just bouncing from rock to rock. Once you get back into the tree line, though, it was more runnable. You have a more defined path and more easier footing. I wouldn't say it was runnable. No. I would say you could speed hike it or you could jog sections of it, but at least for me. Now, if you're a Kilian Jornet or, a Max King or some elite athlete, sure. Yeah. I mean, Anton Karpichka could probably go up and down that thing without stopping.
And does.
But and I'm not, so.
Yeah, it's, and to kind of describe it for people, like the trail is well defined, but I will say that, so what you're following there are cairns. So if you aren't familiar with what a cairn is basically a pile of rocks. And on this trail, at some places, particularly kind of lower down, I mean, when you're in the trees, it's very well defined. Like you can see exactly where you're going. When you get above the trees, it's mostly well defined, but then at some point you begin following cairns. So you've seen, again, piles of rocks. What those are is to be kind of geographical markers along the way, because the trail becomes just rock and you can't build a trail through that. So there's that part kind of playing, and I'll put up a picture of cairns. I did just a second ago, so you guys will see those. But the other thing is that the steps, if you will, so kind of like as you're going along, the step up to the next rock is higher than a regular step in your house or something like that, right? So you're talking about like 1 or 2 times higher. It's much more difficult to make that step because you're effectively jumping, and you have to do that for like 2 miles, and so it makes it much more challenging. Same thing on the way down,
I mean, 100%. I was trying to see if I could find a picture of what the trail looked like, but
yeah, I'll put a link to that down in the show notes, and so people can take a look at most of it or much of it. In fact, if you're looking at the show notes, I'll also have the keyhole route, so you'll be able to see what's on the other side of the keyhole, because that's where it gets very dicey. There's no running over there. You could speed hike it theoretically, but the trail there is so not visible that the Park Service actually paints bullseyes on rocks, on boulders along the way for you to kind of aim. You go, okay, well, I'm here, and now the next spot I need to go is over there. So it's a little tricky. So Hall Ranch, you did not see any rattlesnakes. I promise they exist. I know you think they don't. how are you feeling the next day? What was your kind of take as I mean, I feel like I've talked that up a lot, and you know, anytime you hear a bunch about a particular trail or something like that, it can be a little disappointing. What did you think about kind of let's kind of break it down through sections of Hall Range. So first, how are you feeling that day?
Uh, so going into it, I was starting to feel the effects of climbing what 5,000, 6,000 feet in
2 days.
the few days before. So
Yeah.
my legs were a little taxed.
Yep.
But otherwise I felt good. I hadn't run hard.
Hmm.
I think the whole time we were there, but that wasn't the point. The point wasn't
Yeah.
to run hard. It was to run long. It was to be on the feet for multiple hours every day,
Hmm.
and get the elevation. And that's what I did. So I was really happy going into the run. I was taxed, but not gassed.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, and that first section, if I think the first section before we went to Button Rock,
Yes. Okay.
super fun. I mean, the views you have, what is that? South facing views?
West. Going
West
toward
facing
Longs
views.
Peak.
Yeah.
Yeah. West.
Yeah. I mean, amazing. The trail was super fun. There was those long sections where we jogged and we kind of ran the whole way. It was
Hmm.
all uphill,
Yep.
which was interesting, but not like this. It was like that steady,
Yep.
kind of like gradual uphill where there were sections where it kind of jumped up, but it was super fun. The trail is beautiful, well maintained.
Hmm.
I mean, I loved every minute of it.
There are those rocky sections within the first kind of so you're talking about like the first 4 miles or so.
Yeah.
There are those very rocky sections that are again, it's similar to parts of the Longs Peak Trail, although not nearly as wide, um, where it's a little dicier, just because it's so you're kind of narrow. The trail there's no spot for like water runoff areas, so the trail can get dug out in spots.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, it's a great trail. It's hot though. I mean,
It is. There were sections where you felt like you were kind of going into an oven.
yeah, because the air gets trapped and there's no circulation. Then we came up to that top of that clearing area on kind of at the backside of the draw that we ran in mile 2 or so, where the air starts to circulate a little bit more, which is quite nice.
Yeah.
Um, and then or down to Button Rock. So for those of you that have run Hall Ranch before but never done the Button Rock, I keep wanting to say Longs Peak, done the Button Rock connector that goes into Button Rock Preserve, and all that stuff. And again, I'll put up links. Actually, let me put up Button Rock down in the show notes. You can check that out, and we'll put up the entire trail system, so you can look at what that looks like. But that connector down there, it was. So we knew that on the front side, just the front side loop is 9.8 miles. So we knew that we had to get by the time we were at the base, because where the connector is pretty dead on halfway. And so we knew that we had to be at 7.5 miles to hit kind of that 15-mile goal at wherever we were going out to. And it's what, 2 miles just downhill. Well, actually, that's not true, is it?
No.
So I thought, because to me, I don't know why, but to my mind, Button Rock is just downhill. And it was downhill for like the first mile, mile and
Mm-hmm.
a half. And then it kind of pitches up. And then you connect into what's called Sleepy Lion Trail. Again, I'll put that. And Sleepy Lion, we're standing at the top of it, and you overlook the reservoir and all that's very cool. I mean, I think it's very cool.
Oh, it was rad. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a heck of a view. But we're looking down and we can see where we go, and I'm like, that's got to be 500 feet down.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, you're going, but that also means it's 500 feet up. So it turns like it's more like 550 feet, and it was very, very steep, especially like the last quarter mile or so.
Oh,
Of
it was like 40% grade downhill.
yeah, it's no joke. And then we had to come back up. But when we got down to the bottom, Aaron got to see the spillway. So Button Rock Dam or Button Rock I guess it's a Ralph Price Reservoir, is a dam, and that's where some of the drinking water for this area comes from, and it's very large. Um, Aaron had, and then there's this huge spillway that's really, I mean, it's like coming out of this hole there's basically below the dam there, and it's just shooting out 100 feet or whatever it is. It's pretty epic, frankly. Um, but we decided to go over kind of to the side of that, and Aaron had his filter, and so we refilled, which is good because frankly, I did not bring enough nutrition. I probably brought enough water to get there, but I did not bring enough nutrition. I brought one thing of scratch or honey stinger chews, um, but I needed at least one more of those things. Unfortunately, you had an extra goo, so I kind of partook of that. Um, yeah. So it was a. What did you think of kind of? I mean, like, you can't filter water where you are because salt, right? Or are there?
Yeah, I mean, I don't take on the coast. You don't like. I don't because I'm no more than a few miles from a water fountain or a 7-Eleven. So there's no point.
Yeah, it was good that you had that though. I mean, it was and it was actually. I don't know if it was because we were kind of down in a little bit of a along the creek side there, but it's nice and cool because the spillway puts up so much mist that it increased the humidity in the air. It's very cool, actually chilly.
Well, and the water that I had on me at the time was hot. I mean, it was 98-degree water at that point. So getting the cool 60-degree or 50-degree water out of the spillway was wonderful, much needed.
It was awesome. And then, so we took a minute there, refilled bottles, and then kind of flipped it, headed back up. The way up, I mean, it's a lot of walking. And we found actually, remember, there's a couple. I felt really, but they were not from here. They were from outside the United States, and they were very lost. And had they kept walking the direction they were walking, they would have gone all the way to Hall before finding the trailhead. Like,
yeah.
And so fortunately, we ran into them and kind of directed them back. They were super low, and it was not cool. It was very warm.
No, and they had nothing on them, so
nothing.
I'm sure they were getting thirsty and hungry.
Yeah.
I'm sure his wife, girlfriend, sister was not happy.
No. They did not have any water. I mean, and they were at the very least 2 miles from any trailhead, and it would be the Button Rock trailhead, but they were going in the wrong direction. And so they stopped us and asked which direction. So I showed them the map, and I assume we haven't heard any reports of people being dead on Button Rock Trail. So that's good.
No missing couples.
No missing couples. So it's good. But anyway, then we kind of get back up, and then we began sort of the descent, right? So you kind of come back around as you go clockwise around the backside of the cabin there, or the Hall Ranch house, effectively. And that's where it becomes, to me, it's much more runnable. It's very smooth. That's also where bikes come into the mix.
Yeah. A lot more bikes, a lot more mountain bikes. I mean, I think we stopped more to let bikers come up our rear than anything.
Yeah. So on the way, if you're looking at the Hall Ranch thing, and again, check out the show notes, but if you're looking at Hall Ranch, we kind of took what's called the Nighthawk Trail, which goes off to the left from the trailhead area. And then that at that halfway point connects into the Bitterbrush Trail. So there are no bikes allowed on the Nighthawk Trail. It's all pedestrians and horses. That's effectively it. On the Bitterbrush Trail, there are mountain bikers allowed. And it's frankly, some parts of it, like there's a rock garden kind of toward the bottom of that is beyond my skill level to truly ride down on a mountain bike. But it's a very, very popular area. A lot of it up top from kind of that halfway point where the Bitterbrush joins into Nighthawk or vice versa. It's super runnable. It's smooth, well-groomed, well-maintained single track that's nice and flow. It's really fun to run too, I think.
Oh, it was awesome. Yeah, super fun to run. It did get hot in a few of those sections, kind of when you go down and like more into the valley.
Yep.
Or the canyon.
Yep.
But yeah, super runnable. Again, I'm wildly interested in running that thing the opposite direction.
Yeah.
and only because there's a lot of run. So the rock garden
Yep.
would be the beginning kind
Okay.
of your run. You kind of warm up, loosen up going through that.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of flow into the sections. And then the back half is there's no bikes. You can kind of charge if you wanted to.
Yeah, and I think that the back half is probably, for much of it anyway, there are a couple, if you were going in reverse, a couple places that would be uphill, but it's almost entirely downhill. Where on the front side, if you were to come up Bitterrush, so counterclockwise, uh, there's that big downhill. You would be going that big downhill section. Yeah, I think it's more variable on that side. Like there's ups and downs, whereas on going downhill on Nighthawk is much more purely downhill. Um, and a little, except for those technical sections, less technical. And I have done that. But it's been a very, very long time since I've done that.
Yeah.
Um,
But again, like I told you, that trail is so fun, and there's so much variation and terrain and
Yep.
up and down. That's if I were to live in the Boulder Longmont area, that could be, or probably would be, like my 10-mile staple run.
Yep.
Which apparently it is yours. So
yeah, and I'll tell you, so there are a couple other trails that are, because it's also very close to home.
Right.
That's the other thing. And Heil Ranch, so we did Picture Rock, as we've talked about in the last episode. That trail system, and I'll put a link to that. Heil Ranch is one of those as well. That's a little bit. I think it's less difficult than Hall. It's a little cooler because there's a little more. Well, there's a fire up there now, so I don't think the tree cover is what it used to be. But that you can go a lot longer. You could do 20 miles on that very, very easily without putting in any connectors. You just kind of go from Heil over to Button or over to Picture Rock. But that's another one that's right there, and I love those. Have those staple trails, because it's a no-brainer. You go, I've got this much time, and you actually commented on this, knowing how much time X is going to take. If I'm here, I know that it's going to take me this long to get there, probably this long to run it or ride it or whatever, and this long to get back.
Yep.
Having that sort of ability to estimate time is, you do it too, right? You know how long it takes you to run first landing.
100%.
Yeah. We just have more technical trails. Some versus none.
Yeah. Very much.
Just kidding. No offense, First Landing State Park, if you're listening. And then let's see. Yeah. So tell me about the Rock Garden. What was your impression of the Rock Garden?
If you're a mountain biker, sweet.
Yeah.
If you're a trail runner, it's kind of just a pain in the ass.
Yeah. It's
you could break your ankle, you can bomb it,
smack your face on some rocks.
Yeah, just I don't know. Like, wasn't my favorite section of the trail.
No,
but it gives you the opportunity to feel good about walking.
I'll also say, so here's another good reason I think to do like you say and try it counterclockwise. Maybe I'll do that this weekend. Is that when you're going down the Rock Garden, if you've gone clockwise, your legs are pretty gassed by that point. And so like what it does to me is it slows me not that I'm fast, but it slows me down even more because I'm being cautious. Like I don't want to hurt myself. You know what I'm saying? And there's a high likelihood of hurting oneself.
Oh, yeah.
So it just would make sense to me. So yeah, maybe I'll look at it this weekend. We'll see. I might want to run Heil Ranch this weekend.
There you go.
So how was your run when you got back though? How did you feel the first run back at sea level?
Good. Lungs felt great. Everything felt good except for the legs were, a little gassed, little taxed. So yeah, Tuesday was an easy 5. I actually felt really easy, really good. Yesterday, I kind of did the back trails.
Okay.
And super soft ground, like a lot of sand. And that didn't. I got a mile out, and I'm like, I'm good. I think today wasn't. I'm going to take the L today and go home.
Yeah, sand. Those I hate running on sand.
Mm-hmm.
I've done it. Go ahead.
I hate it too, but it's one of those things that for me it helps strengthen my feet and like my calves. Like it's purposeful,
Yeah.
but it sucks so much that I was like, I'm gone. I'm done.
Yeah, I did this was years ago. I did I'm going to run on the beach barefoot thing and ran on the hard sand kind of down near the water, and I just got blisters because I think I was in like Lido Key in Sarasota or something, or maybe Miami, but in any event, the sand was so fine that it wound up just abrading kind of it was the tips of my toes that got blistered because you have to dig in with your toes. Even when you're on the hard sand, like you just have this instinctual dig in. So yeah,
Yep.
I hate that push away because you're right. I mean, that's a good call that it's purposeful, right? But otherwise it's
Terrible.
it's not great. Um, awesome. Yeah, I'm excited to so it's good that you felt like the lungs felt good. So you felt that, I mean, some sort of residual benefit from being up here.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And you can tell coming from 0 to 10,000,
Yep.
the air is thinner. I mean, 100%. You can't hide it. You can't get away from it. There's nothing you can do to prepare for it.
Yeah. And I mean, that's what I believe. And there was an article not too long ago. I'll see if I can find it, that was saying live high, train low. And so that's an entire thing. Yeah. So endurance training model. This is from NSCA. I'll put this link up. And so basically the concept being that exactly what it sounds like. You don't necessarily live and train high. And I'm not saying that 5,000 feet, even where we are, 5,000 feet isn't super high, right? But if you lived in like Creed, so Creed is at like 9,000 feet or something like that, and then you came down to run, what you're doing is you're maximizing your ability, your VO2 max. I think you're maximizing your ability in normal activity, going to the grocery store or whatever it is, by living there and not taxing yourself, but then coming down lower and bringing those benefits with you, but going for the harder run. So it allows your body you can push your body harder, but still have the benefits of effectively the kind of barometric difference there. I think that's the concept. Again, I'll put this link up so you guys can check it out. So it's what I always feel like, though, going when I come to Virginia. But I will say that a few years ago, this is several years ago, it was probably 2014, I think, maybe 18. Anyway, I was training for an Ironman and I was in great shape, and I got down to sea level, and I was in the Outer Banks in Kitty Hawk, and it's, I'm right on the beach road there, and so like I'm at sea level, but it was so hot and humid that here in Colorado I was doing like 20-mile runs, that are 112 degrees at Hall Ranch and uphill and yada yada yada. And I get down there, I got like 2 miles in and felt like I was getting kicked in the balls for all 2 miles, and it was weird. I don't know. I have to assume that it was because of the humidity more than anything.
Oh, yeah. I mean, again, it's so dry and nice.
Yeah.
To run in Colorado. That the humidity here is like a brick wall.
Yeah. And so it's funny, because you can't take, yes, you're taking some of those things with you. You're taking some of the benefits of living here and going down low, because from a lung perspective, you feel better, but getting over that humidity is just,
it's hard.
Not easy. So I'm curious. I'm going to have to report back about that to see, because I, as I mentioned a couple times in our conversations, I also wonder, and I can't remember, if I wasn't letting my ego just go, I live in Colorado, I can surely come to sea level and run like a beast. And my ego was like, yeah, you can do that. And reality was like, no, you can't do that. I just don't know. So,
yeah.
I'd be curious to see.
When you get down here, go for a heart rate max run and go for a regular heart rate run.
No.
No.
You go to hell and you die, sir. I'm not going for a max heart rate run. Are you insane?
Yeah.
No. Yeah, it'll be. We'll see. We'll see. All right, let's talk about some gear. What you got? Curious to
I
hear.
got three quick things that arrived while I was with you.
Okay.
First off, is a shirt. I'm actually wearing one.
All right.
And got this. It's from Ibex.
Ooh, nice. Little merino.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
Super merino wool. It's no ordinary wool, as you can see here.
No ordinary wool.
But super soft, super thin. I mean, you can see straight through it. It's but very soft, very breathable.
Nice.
I've worn it all day, and it's been fantastic so far. So, super pumped on this. And they sent a pair of underwear.
Ooh.
Which
wool underwear.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what I thought. But they're moisture wicking, odor resistant, and very cooling. So very nice.
Awesome.
Our friends at Nathan sent the new. Hold on. There we go. The new 12-liter Pinnacle hydration vest. I like it. It's got a couple of different back pockets.
Awesome.
It's got it came with a 1.6 liter hydration pack.
Okay.
It's got room in the bottle. It's got bottles, stuff for the bottles.
Nice.
Very light, very nice. I tried it on. Going to use it this weekend. Give it the gozy.
Awesome.
See what happened. And then lastly, from Salomon, the new Pulsar Trail shoe. I ran in this on Tuesday.
Yeah. And
I'm pumped on this shoe. It is like their maximal cushion trail shoe, contra grip outsole, very small lugs, which I like. Super comfy so far. I'm very pumped on it. If I had one drawback in initial, it's the super rigid toe guard.
Okay.
But I've run 5 miles in it, so I don't know if that's going to break in a little bit more or not. Sure. But super awesome. Love the quick lace system they've got going on. So I'm going to put a lot more miles in this. And this new energy blade that they've got going. It's like a stiff. I don't even know if it's a plate or a foam. I got to do a little research on it.
Okay.
At the bottom, kind of stiff and responsive, but super plush. So
nice.
Very excited on it.
Awesome. Love it. I'm jealous.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Well, good. Fantastic. We'll have to talk more about those. I need to get some images from you on the Pinnacle and the Pulsar. We'll talk about that. Anywho, all right, guys. Thanks, Arron. We're going to probably put this up, as odd as it seems, like Sunday night or Monday morning. And so there'll be, because I was late on the one getting up for the last one, this one will go up probably this coming Monday morning, and then the next one we'll record somewhere in there, and we'll get it done. Yeah, it'll be fine. You guys will be fine. But please let us know what questions, comments, thoughts, concerns. Tell us about the trails where you are. Tell us about the roads where you are. Like, if you guys are watching and you're at one altitude, you go to a different altitude to run, whatever that is, whether it's up to down, down to up, let us know what you have experienced. Like, obviously people love coming from a high altitude to more sea level altitude, but what are those factors that work into that? Like, if you're going a place like Phoenix, which is, I think Phoenix is a little bit of altitude, but it's heavily dry and super hot. Like, can you run in those places, or do you just bag it? So let us know down in the comments what you guys do, and including the humidity question, Yeah. Because you just have to lean into the sweat at that point.
Yep.
Oh, God, it sounds terrible. Anyway, all right, Arron, thank you so much, guys. This has been Grit number 15. Please like, follow, comment, click the notification bell. All of those things we want to hear from you guys. Please subscribe, whether you're listening to this on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Overcast, whatever. Subscribe if you're on YouTube. Make a comment. We'd love to hear from you guys. If you want to follow us on Instagram, you can see my Instagram right there at Gearist. Aaron's is at Arron with 2 R's and 2 R's in the ARRONGARROD. And again, we also have links to those things down in the show notes. Thank you, Aaron, and I look forward to talking to you next time, man.
Yeah, Brandon. Have a good week.
All right, dude. See ya.